Hey, so I just want to make a video about negativity. Other people's, I guess the title of the video is why do some people got to be so negative, right? So I just had this experience where I was just wrapping up the day. It's Friday, about to that, and we're done work and we're getting out of there, wrapping up the tools, standing there with the customer and the boss, and then this conversation happens where somebody says, somebody says to me, I really don't envy your generation at all. I'm so glad that I didn't grow up when you grew up. I mean, we had it way better than you. And it just kind of went off like this. And I was like, at first taken back, because it's like, how do you, when somebody starts talking, essentially value judgments about how something's better, they're like, oh, we had it way better back in the day, like nowadays. And I was like, I said, what I said was like, it is true that there's differences, but I mean, for myself, I'm able to value the differences. There was a simplicity, I suppose, for people that grew up in the 50s or 60s or 70s or something like that. I mean, I was born in the 80s, but I really grew up in the 90s. And I said to these people, it was, there was one person that was kind of, we were on the same page, and then there was these other two who were on the negative page, right? And it was like, I said, like, sure, there are some differences, but some things about the generation that I grew up in, I appreciate being able to say, send an email to my Automme or in Holland, and it gets there in a fraction of a second. Nowadays, I like that I drive a car that gets 800 kilometers to a tank of diesel. I drive it. Yeah. I mean, that's good. Vehicles weren't like that back in the day. I mean, you got to take the good and the bad. I mean, like, what else? Nowadays you can sit, I'm sitting here making a video on my phone in my car that I will upload for anybody who wants it to see, to hear my perspective about things. And that's another one too. It's like, I got chewed up and spit out by the public school system here in Canada. It did nothing for me. I learned nothing. But after school, because of the internet, which was not available back in the day, I was able to educate myself, and I've done pretty well with it. I just finished a yoga course, a 50-hour yoga teacher training that is a prerequisite for my next 200-hour that is coming up in June, that I will be going to New York, but I did this online, something that was not available back in the day. I have video calls on my phone with my friend in Colombia whenever I want. I just literally hit a button, and then there she is, and there we are, smiling at each other's, looking at in each other's eyes, having a heart to heart, having a one-to-one. I mean, this is, what one of these guys said is, oh, well, what about, like, there's all this porn on the internet? And I said, it is true that there is availability of certain things, but I mean, you don't blame the technology. It's like, what do they say? Guns don't kill people, people kill people. Spoons don't make people fat. Pencils don't misspell words. I mean, it all comes down to having self-control and discipline and responsibility and accountability. I mean, you can't just, it's like blaming my gas pedal or the fact that my car goes over the speed limit for the fact that I get speeding tickets. I mean, so I think that for myself, I'm learning to not put any value judgments, positive or negative, on things, to say, oh, it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. It's a fundamentally neutral thing. There is a opportunity for both expressions of anything, right? I mean, I've run into this with who is it, with my we'll just say a family member that I'm really close to. And what he said, I was like, oh yeah, something for myself is the best, an Instant Pot. I love this thing. I eat a raw food diet now, but I will probably in the future eat some things like out of the Instant Pot again. And because I like to cook, I used to cook beans and rice and stuff like that, and it's just amazing. You put the stuff in there, you press the button, and then you walk away, and then it's just like hot and ready and whatnot, right? I mean, great piece of technology, automated piece of technology that allows you to focus on other things. And what was the other thing that he didn't like? The automate, and he's like, oh, this stupid gadget, who needs that? I was like, but it works really well. I mean, it's great. I mean, it does the job perfectly every single time when you dial it in. And apparently pressure cookers used to explode and stuff like that. I mean, it's not an issue anymore. I don't think so anyways. I mean, I clean my pressure cooker, my Instant Pot and stuff like that. So just kind of funny. The other one, the tills when you go through the supermarket here, it's not a person. There's just a machine, and you scan the stuff and you weigh it yourself and you pay with your credit card and you walk out the door. And he, for some reason, is against this, thinks that it's taking away good jobs, as if like bagging groceries is a good job. I mean, it's certainly not a good paying job. It's certainly not something that somebody goes to school with to do. Nobody pursues a career in that per se. I mean, maybe some people do, but there is certainly more. Yeah, and what was the other one was electric cars. He was like, oh, stupid electric cars. I mean, they're talking about the limitations of the battery and this and that. And it's like, okay, so it doesn't have every single application it's not suitable for yet. But now, just a few years later, they're getting better and better. And now they're getting that range that people are looking for so that they can go on extended trips. And there's all kinds of, I don't know, the technology is advancing anyways. Same thing with like, I have a drone that I make videos with. It's awesome. It's only because of like, even computers. There weren't computers every day, never mind a pocket computer like this one that's sitting right here in front of me, and because of microprocessors and things like that. I mean, what this technology allows us to do, I mean, I don't know. I mean, and is there badness to that? Yeah, do maybe not bad, but like do some abuse technology? Sure. I think the US government uses drones to like drop bombs on people, which is super not cool, right? But like that's the whole thing, is that there's positive and negative to it all. So what do you do? I mean, I tell you what I do. I don't sit there and make value calls. I don't judge. I don't sit there and say one thing, this is good, this is bad. What Lao Tzu says is, when you see some things as good, other things become bad. When you see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. I mean, it's why it is, at least in my experience, it is in my interests to not do that, not to label, and to not to not label and name and put value in either direction on things, because at the end of the day, there are two sides to everything, if not three, because of the fundamental, the neutral. So it's just like, you don't need to go there. But of course, some people are very opinionated, and they get something from making statements. I think it seems like it does something for them to be able to notice things and then comment on them, to like point them out and then comment on them, and like and yeah, and let others know, because that's a big part of what it's about. It's not just like seeing it for yourself and keeping to yourself. It's about saying it to others, so that then others, so then you essentially create an image for yourself about your standpoint on something, how you feel, you know. And that's, yeah, I mean, in a single word, it's ego. But yeah, man, I was really struggling with this, and not struggling. I mean, I had a conversation with these people. I recognized that there was a significant amount of negativity floating around, and when people are in a really negative mind state, it's or not really negative, right? But when they're there, I mean, it's not my job to one up them, you know. I don't want to get into an ego battle myself and be like, oh, well, you're wrong and I'm right because of this and because of that. I mean, I get caught up in it a little bit? Sure. But, you know, did I share some things that I thought was relevant? I did. And then I walked away, you know. And I think that was mature and responsible. And now this as well, you know, this is why I love this YouTube thing, is because I have an outlet where I don't want to vent on somebody who doesn't really want to hear it. You know, I went through the checkout, I just went and got some vegetables, ta-da, and the girl there, she's like, how you doing? And I was like, I'm okay, you know. And I told her the little bit, and it's just, yeah. And that's why I'm saying this. That's why I'm making this video, just to get it out, because I don't like to hold on to this kind of stuff. I mean, I know I watched this Bashar video the other day, and he said it's the challenges that you face in life. If you didn't have challenges, you wouldn't grow, right? And so like this, sure, I was much more in a peaceful mode before this happened, like half an hour ago. But as a result, I have to dig deep and find words to express myself in the most mature manner, to not take it all personally, to not get bent out of shape, you know, to not get caught up in it, not to drag it on, right? Dragon. But to just, you know, recognize it and process it and let it go. There was another one that I can't forget about. There was somebody that I hang out with from time to time, and I remember we were walking this one time, and she says to me, she's like, it's like, I think we walked past some place, and they were watching football, like American football, throwing it, not soccer. And she says, she's not from around here, and she says, it's such a stupid game. Nobody likes that game. Why did the Americans even invent that game? It's so stupid. And I was just taken back, you know. It's just like, where is that coming from? You know, like, why do you need to say things like that? Like, what do you think that it accomplishes harboring that sort of an attitude, you know, having that kind of a mindset, and then never mind just like keeping it to yourself and just like having that kind of an opinion, but like then sharing it with other people, like spreading negativity? I mean, you know, of course it's just people working through things. I mean, I work through things as well, so that's the trick too, is to not, you know, to not judge somebody else for having an experience, right? Because then that's not any better than anything, right? I mean, so yeah, at the end of the day, I guess it's just a great opportunity to reflect on things and to have composure and handle yourself in a situation without letting it get under your skin, and, you know, without letting it ruin your day, because it's easy for it to do that. I mean, that's why this YouTube thing, like I said, is so huge for me, because I have an analytical mind. I'm a sensitive person. I mean, I just am. And so, yeah, you know, You know, the only other point about it is just that it's like, you know, as far as saying this is good and that's bad and this is right and that's wrong, you know, to say certain things have no value, it's like everything has an opportunity for you to learn something from. It's up to you to choose not to be receptive to certain situations and circumstances, you know, even that life presents you with, whether it's people or just circumstances that you find yourself in. I mean, yeah, you know, it's not about good and bad. It's, you know, because that's a slippery slope. That's what that is, meaning you start with that because that's where you're at. You're asking for it, right? You know what they say about pointing fingers. So, because it's like, you know, I said to these people, I was like, so it's not about one being better than the other. It's about recognizing the value in both. You know, it's not a, you know, it's like, how about, are women better than men, or vice versa? Are tall people better than short people? What about white people and colored people? Or you know, are men smarter than women? Or like on and on and on. Or is being a vegan better than being a meat eater, or a vegetarian, or a pescatarian? How about we stop labeling each other and judging each other and making statements about each other, certainly negative ones, right? I mean, if you want to make positive ones, if you know that doesn't fit into I can see how it's not ideal to even make positive statements, because there's always another side to it. It doesn't help. You're like, oh, that guy's doing, you know, like, I'm not going to go into it, right? I'm done with this video, but yeah, peace and namaste. Namaste meaning the light in me salutes the light in you.